Today I have the pleasure of hosting Mr. Arnie Roth, conductor for the Final Fantasy Final Distance concert. Welcome to Montreal.
Thank you.
Thank you for accepting to answer a few of our questions.
Of course.
So here we go. So in your numerous years of experience as a conductor, have you observed a noticeable difference between the video game playing audience and the usual classical concert audience?
Yeah, I really think that our fans, the fans of Final Fantasy, are somewhat different from the general video game music fan in that this is an RPG game, and the combination of it being an RPG game and the way that Nobuo Uematsu, the lead composer, the main composer from Final Fantasy, constructed all the various themes is such, all the way from 25 years ago, that there's a great adoration, a great reverence for the music specifically. Relative to other video games, for instance, I conduct many other video game music projects, Zelda and World of Warcraft, Halo, many of them, and they all have very heroic main themes, but it's a little bit different in terms of the body of the music. Many of these may be more about an action game and less about plot or intertwining of musical themes with action and with characters and with relationships.
I see.
And Final Fantasy is much more about that. And somehow the fans of this concert are much more attuned to all the music in Final Fantasy than any of the other fans that I've run across. I mean, Zelda might be a one that compares to a certain extent. Another one might be Chrono Cross, Chrono Trigger, that series. But they haven't had a new one of that for a long time.
Yes.
So I think Final Fantasy is pretty unique that way. But how it compares to classical concert audience, that's, of course, always fascinating. I think in a classical concert, we have very good listening by the audience. However, because of the graying of the audience, they're getting older, and this is no secret. The sales of classical music CDs and things like that have gone way down, and the dying of that audience, the traditional classical music audience, means that you have these kinds of phenomenon in classical music. You get down to a beautiful cadence point at the end of a Mahler or Mozart or Beethoven or whatever, very quiet, and then of course somebody coughs right in the middle of that and just ruins the moment. Or you get down towards the end of the concert, and then there's a rush of all the older folks trying to get out to beat the traffic rush or get their cars out of parking, so they miss the very end of this. This is quite typical in classical concerts. They're very disciplined and much more restrained applause, generally. The difference with our audience is that the listening is as attentive or more so. You can hear a pin drop during the performance of the pieces, but there's overwhelming response at the closure of each piece. I mean, more along the lines of a rock concert, or really vocal
I see.
support. Also support when I announce each piece, because without a printed program, there's a certain amount of surprise which our fans like, the surprise of it. What's going to be next and what's the sequence. Also, you'll find fans in Final Fantasy. You will find fans of each one of the Roman numeral games. Great fans of 7, great fans of 8, 9, 10. And the early games, 1, 2, and 3, now are being reissued on iPhone and things like that. So you have new young players that are coming in as well. And then the recent ones, Final Fantasy 13, 13-2. We have a new one coming out, Lightning Returns, 14, 15, So you have, I would say 60 or 70% of our audience is between the age of 18 and 35 or 40. The vast majority of them are in that age. Then there are some that played it when it first came out who are bringing their children now. So we have 2 generations coming too. So it's really kind of a beautiful, fascinating audience for me.
Much different.
Yes.
Okay. During its concerts, Distant World broadcasts a video projection. An approach, rarely used with classical concerts. What purpose does the video serve in a musical concert like Distant Worlds?
Yeah, that's another interesting question, because I often answered that we have this big, beautiful, massive screen centrally located over the orchestra and chorus, and there is some gorgeous high-definition animation, obviously, from the Final Fantasy series. But the truth is that this is eye candy. This is not the most important aspect.
Mm-hmm.
They are here for the music.
Okay.
And so they've seen all these images for hundreds and thousands of hours. It's always attractive to see it, and the way that it interacts with the music. So there'll be certain moments during a chocobo medley or during a battle medley, where a certain scene will come on. It'll be great cheer for that. But it serves as eye candy.
Okay.
They truly are fans of the music. We don't, as a matter of fact, you may know that since, I think, perhaps 1999, there have been tremendous amounts of video game music concerts in Japan with absolutely no projection whatsoever, just accepted as legitimate concerts, which of course they are.
Yes, definitely.
But it was way before it occurred in North America or Europe.
Okay.
And so it was accepted there that way. And as a matter of fact, even to this day, the reception is more restrained and controlled in Japan, even though they are, of course, rabid fans and snap up the tickets in 2 seconds. But it's a different kind of focus. The focus is on the music. And I think that's true in Final Fantasy. And even in all of our concerts, even with projections, I think the projections are more for the concept. People have this concept that it's a concert of video game music, so therefore there must be video projection.
Okay.
It's as if you were doing a concert of film music and you weren't going to show any film. There's plenty of those as well.
Yes,
the music of John Williams, the music of, Howard Shore, whatever it might be. But for some reason, in terms of presenters and orchestras and the general entertainment business out there, those people think that you're doing a concert of video game music, you have to have visuals.
I see.
So Final Fantasy, the Distant Worlds, this tour, is unique from all the other tours in that we actually have a very specific license with Square Enix, the parent company, which incorporates both the original music tracks as well as original footage. So we have, our license includes video footage from the game, as well as we try specifically to present all the pieces as close to the way they were in the game when they first came out, even the 8-bit versions.
Really?
Yeah. And it's a challenge, of course, because we have to orchestrate the 8-bit ones from 20 years ago. But it's fun to do that. And the difference is that this is not an arranger's fantasy. Many productions are.
Okay.
The recent Zelda thing that has gone around and is finishing up now was about scoring a film. So you had a film, and the orchestra was accompanying the film. Sorry.
No problem.
So the orchestra was accompanying the film, and it was more about that. So I would say 80 to 90% of it is about the arranger's mind of new original connection material, how to link the various themes and things like that. Not what Distant Worlds is. Distant Worlds is about, let's present it the way it was exactly in the game, or as close as we can. Obviously, with the 8-bit things, we have to orchestrate some of these things. But I think fans understand that difference, too, of what Distant Worlds represents. And we want to stay that way.
As close as possible.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it even more right
now.
now. So tonight in Montreal, you'll be playing with a local choir, the St. Lawrence Choir.
Right, correct.
How do you coordinate the choir and the orchestra? Does it affect rehearsal? And in what way, if so? And is it a challenge for you?
Yeah. Well, I love working with a really great choir. And we've already rehearsed, obviously, the St. Lawrence, and they're doing great. Last year, was our first performance in Montreal here at Place des Arts. And because we didn't have a choir available for that concert, we have something like 85 or 90 scores already, Final Fantasy scores in our library from over the 25 years. So because of that, programming is a very interesting challenge for me. I want to satisfy as many requests from the fans as possible, and certainly hit all the most popular themes because there's greater demand for those things. Yet I have to balance, okay, how much rehearsal time do I have? Do I have a choir or not? Do we have Susan Calloway or some other pop singer that can sing some of the more popular songs, like Eyes on Me, Melodies of Life, Suteki Dane, Kiss Me Goodbye, things like that. So we had Susan Calloway here last year because we didn't have a choir.
Okay.
So we did all those songs last year. This year we have a choir. So instead I'm able to do all these pieces that we didn't do last year.
Time.
Liberi Fatale, Fisherman's Horizon, the new Battle Medley with choir, the new Chocobo Medley uses choir, the new opera version that we did from the celebration, the 25th anniversary celebration concerts, now uses choir as well as the 3 soloists, as well as a narrator. And so we'll do that here tonight in Montreal. It's a little bit more multimedia here, but the new version of the opera, Maria and Draco, and many other ones too. For instance, we're doing the first performance in North America tonight in Montreal of Hymn of the Faith from Final Fantasy X. So that a beautiful piece of music that will do both that and Xanarkand from 10 together. And I know, of course, Square Enix's reissue. There's a remaster about to be released of Final Fantasy X and 10-2, so it's fitting that we're doing that. So
perfect context.
Yeah.
Last question. Which video game musical piece would you like to adapt for a symphonic orchestra, regardless of game or...
Oh, that's the most difficult question. I think you'd like the simple, my own personal preference as an answer. Mm-hmm. The reality is I find so many attractive things about all of the main themes on a lot of these. Clearly, that's where all the publishers are putting their effort into a very memorable main theme, whether it's cute or funny or heroic. And I love all the aspects of all of these things, of each one of those. The question of which one I would most want to perform, I don't know if I can answer that question. Let's instead of that, I'll answer a question of which is related.
Okay.
I've been asked, and I was thinking for many years now, what's another video game series that the fans are so devoted to the music, not just devoted to the game or the action, but to the music
itself.
And that's a more difficult, a question that maybe we can focus in on. Chrono Cross, Chrono Trigger, the fans are very devoted to the music. I know that. The problem is that there hasn't been a new version of that for so many years. But I don't know, out of all the other ones, I would pick out various main themes that I like. I love World of Warcraft, Halo. A little known fact I'll tell you that a lot of people don't know. I actually worked on the arrangement and performed as a violinist on the original Halo main theme.
Really?
Which was born in Chicago, actually. Great friends of mine, Marty O'Donnell and Mike Salvatore, wrote the original Halo theme. So I actually worked on that, the very first one of that.
Impressive.
So it predates any Final Fantasy days. But,
yes.
But again, there's aspects of every one of those that I like. I love some of the Renaissance treatments that are done in some of these, the kind of, that even that Halo opening theme, that kind of plain chant. This kind of thing. And then I love all the big action numbers, of course, and battle themes. But with Final Fantasy, you have this wonderful spectrum over 25 years of so much music. and you can grab various battle themes or love relationship themes or character themes, some of which are cute, some of which are, the characters that die or
more tragic.
Aerith, things like that. So you have so much variety within Final Fantasy.
You don't need to go outside.
That I don't think so. But Chrono Cross, Chrono Trigger might be one that I'd like to kind of dig into and see if we can develop something for that. Also, frankly, Kingdom Hearts, because there's so much overlap with Final Fantasy, and it's very music driven. There's a lot of music in that, so that would be another good candidate. And there's new versions of that coming out all the time, so I think that might be a good one.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for answering my questions. All the time we have.
We'll see you tonight.
Yes,
Yeah, right.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.